Maybe a little anxiety if you're planning any travel, particularly to Europe over the next, 6 weeks or so. Now, it turns out if you purchase tickets to travel overseas before the fighting broke out in the Middle East, well, you should be okay to fly without too many issues. But what happens now as jet fuel prices begin to get priced into your voyages and vacations and maybe even lead to some potential flight cancellations? Gabor Lukacs is the president of Air Passenger Rights, joins us live this morning to talk about this. Gabor, I know a few people who've got plans to head to Europe in particular where there are concerns publicly about potential jet fuel shortages here. So if you've booked a ticket and if you are planning on going, let's say in the next 6 weeks, what is your advice to passengers in terms of doing their travel? Should they take their trips or should they be taking a second look at this?
Good morning. As we know, when an airline sells you a ticket, it is a contract. They assume a risk that prices of the fuel may go up, and sometimes they may go down and they make more money, but it's an economic risk. So as long as jet fuel is available at all at a destination airport, and there are no restrictions, no embargoes on buying jet fuel, the airline has a legal obligation to operate your flight or to rebook you on another flight of a competitor airline if necessary to ensure that you get to your destination as needed. The only time that I would be concerned if there is a prospect of all flights being grounded, which I don't find too likely at this point. So unless and until you have information to suggest that all flights may actually be grounded, you're safe. If your airline cancels your flight, they have to buy you a ticket on a competitor airline, another airline, or another flight of their own to get you back home or to get to your destination as quickly as possible.
And in the interim period there, Gabor, if your flight is canceled and they have this obligation to buy you a flight on another, let's say the flights are full and you're stuck in a foreign country, do they have to pay for your accommodations and food until you can actually get back home?
If we are talking about a cancellation that the airline does because of economic reasons, because the fuel prices are just too high, then absolutely yes. The fundamental point to understand is that if an airline cancels a flight to maximize profits, to avoid losses, that's an economic decision, it's a business decision, no different than canceling a flight which is undersold. It is just about money. And when an airline cancels your flight because of economic reasons of its own, they are on the hook for your damages. They are on the hook for your flight, on the hook for your meals, your accommodation, and even lost wages. That is not the same as a situation when there is a war and the airspace gets just shut down.
Right. Okay. This is the thing, Gabor. You look at this very closely. This is kind of your wheelhouse, shall we say? But for the average traveler who might be trying to wrangle some kids or just trying to figure out if their flight's happening, it can be very overwhelming for people. Is there somewhere? Can we go to Air Passenger Rights? Is there somewhere you can go to sort of get the sort of clear-cut advice to understand? Because airlines, in some cases, might say it's canceled for this reason, but it's really that reason. How do we read the tea leaves or between the lines in incidents like that?
Passengers are invited to join our Facebook group. That's where we have some discussion about this. And also we will be posting information on our website, airpassengerrights.ca.
Okay, well, that is really good information to know. Gabor Lukacs, appreciate this. President, Air Passenger Rights, always appreciate talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.